her body pressed against mine, the scent of her perfume invading my senses, intoxicating, dangerous. Her lips were just inches from my ear, her breath warm, sending a shiver down my spine. "Are you sure about this?" she whispered, her voice trembling, not with fear, but anticipation. I smirked, my fingers tracing slow, deliberate patterns against her lower back. "Oh, sweetheart." I leaned in, my lips barely grazing her ear. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." I wasn't supposed to be here. I wasn't supposed to be touching her like this. But tonight wasn't about what was supposed to happen. Tonight was about revenge. Let me rewind so you understand exactly how we got here. My name is Grayson Wolfe, and I'm 35 years old, a self-made man. The kind of guy who walks into a room and people notice. Power, money, respect. I had it all. But the one thing I thought was real? My marriage. And then I found out Natalie Wolfe, my stunning, perfect wife, was screwing another man. Not just any man. Damian Carter. The worst part? He wasn't just some random asshole. He was a man I knew, trusted, a fellow businessman, a face at the same high-profile events, a friend, the type of guy who smiled in my face while fucking my wife behind my back. And how did I find out? By walking into my own bedroom and catching them in my bed? I'll never forget the way Natalie gasped when she saw me standing there. How she scrambled to cover herself with the sheets while Damien just smirked. Like he wasn't even ashamed. Like he enjoyed the thrill of being caught. I could have killed him. I should have. But I didn't. Because I don't do rage. I do destruction. And the moment I walked out of that room, I knew exactly how I was going to make them pay. I was going to take the one thing Damian Carter loved most, his wife, Aria Carter. I had only met her a handful of times, always at business events where she stood beside Damian like the perfect trophy wife. She was effortlessly beautiful, with deep green eyes that could cut through a man's soul and lips that curved into a smile so dangerous, it should have come with a warning. And the best part? She had no idea her husband was a lying, cheating bastard. I made sure to accidentally cross paths with her at a charity gala, playing the role of the broken, heartbroken husband. Women like Aria had a soft spot for wounded men. They wanted to fix them. Heal them, and I let her. Over drinks, I let her see the pain in my eyes, let her hear the slight shake in my voice when I told her how my wife had betrayed me. And when the time was right, I dropped the bomb. "I don't know how to tell you this," I said, my voice low, hesitant, perfectly measured, "but there's something you need to see." Aria frowned, her brows drawing together in concern. "What is it?" I pulled out my phone and placed it on the table in front of her. The evidence, text messages, pictures, videos. Every filthy, undeniable detail of Damian's affair with my wife. Her fingers trembled as she scrolled, her breathing growing uneven. The color drained from her face, her lips parting in a soft, stunned gasp. For a long moment, she just stared at the screen, unable to process it, and then, slowly, her fingers curled around the phone, tightening. "That bastard," she whispered, her voice like ice. I leaned back in my seat, watching her carefully. "So, what do you want to do about it?" She lifted her gaze to mine, and instead of tears, I saw fire. A slow, dangerous smile spread across her lips. "I think it's time we teach them a lesson." And just like that, we became co-conspirators. That's how we ended up here. Stepping into a high-profile party together, hand in hand, all eyes on us. And the moment Damian's eyes met mine, I saw it. The realization, the horror, the rage. Aria squeezed my hand, leaning in, her breath hot against my neck. He's watching, she murmured. I smirked, gripping her waist tighter. Good, let's give him a show. And trust me, what happened next was about to be absolutely brutal. I felt the heat of her body against mine as we stepped further into the party. Every head turned. Conversations hushed. The energy shifted. And Damien? Oh, he looked like he was about to rip the whole goddamn room apart. His jaw was clenched so tight, I thought his teeth might shatter. His grip on his glass was white-knuckled, his knuckles taut with restraint. His wife, his elegant, untouchable, obedient wife, was draped on my arm, her body pressing just enough against me to drive him insane. And then there was Natalie, my wife, well, soon-to-be ex-wife. Her eyes widened in shock, her expression frozen somewhere between disbelief and jealousy. I could feel Arya's nails gently press into my arm as she leaned in, her voice silk and venom. I think he's going to lose his mind. I smirked, running my fingers lightly along the curve of her hip. That's the point. We made our way to the bar, taking our time, making sure they got a long, perfect view of us together. I ordered a whiskey. Arya ordered a martini, stirred, not shaken. And that's when Damien made his move. He stormed toward us, drink forgotten, his entire body vibrating with barely contained rage. Arya, he ground out, voice low and sharp. What the hell do you think you're doing? She turned slowly, deliberately, dragging her gaze over him as if he were nothing more than an afterthought. Oh, she mused, her lips curving into a wicked smile. I didn't realize I needed your permission to enjoy myself. His eyes darkened, flicking toward me. Get your hands off my wife, Wolf. I exhaled a slow chuckle, swirling my whiskey lazily in my glass. That's funny, Damien. I finally looked up, meeting his gaze dead on, smirking. I don't remember you asking for my permission when you were fucking mine. The room went silent. Natalie sucked in a sharp breath. A few of the guests awkwardly glanced away, pretending not to eavesdrop on what was about to become the biggest scandal of the night. Damien's face twisted with fury, his nostrils flaring. You think this is a game, Wolf? I took a sip of my drink, my smirk never fading. No, Damien. I leaned in, voice dropping low. I think I just won. Arya laughed, a soft, sensual, dangerous sound that made his jaw twitch. She stepped in closer, running a single feather-light finger down the front of my suit jacket. He tastes like victory, she purred, giving Damien a look that should have been illegal. I could practically hear the way Damien's blood boiled. Natalie stepped in then, looking desperate, panicked. Grayson, this isn't you, she said, her voice shaking. This is petty. You don't have to do this. I turned to her slowly, raising an eyebrow. I don't have to do this, I repeated, voice calm, deadly. She swallowed hard, realizing too late that she had zero control over me anymore. I didn't have to find out you were screwing another man in our bed. I took a step forward, towering over her, my voice quiet but razor sharp. I didn't have to feel that humiliation, that betrayal. But guess what, sweetheart? I leaned in, lips grazing just beside her ear. Now it's your turn. Her breath hitched. She was breaking. I straightened, adjusting the cuff of my jacket, then casually glanced back at Damien, who looked like he was about 2 seconds away from throwing a punch. I tilted my head. You don't look so good, buddy. Go to hell, he spat. Arya took my hand in hers, interlocking our fingers, her nails gently scraping my skin. I think we should dance, she murmured, loud enough for both of them to hear. I smirked. You read my mind. And just like that, I led her onto the dance floor, leaving both my wife and her pathetic excuse of a lover drowning in their own humiliation. But the night was far from over, because what happened next was going to be even hotter. Arya's body melted against mine as we stepped onto the dance floor. The bass of the music pulsed beneath my skin, but the real rhythm, the tension, the raw, burning electricity that crackled between us. I slid my hands around her waist, pulling her close, so close that there wasn't even space for air between us. Her fingers trailed up my chest, slow, teasing, her lips parting slightly. Every move was deliberate. Every touch was meant to be seen. Damien and Natalie couldn't look away. Damien was gripping his drink so hard I thought the glass might shatter in his hand. His whole body was rigid, his eyes burning holes into me. Natalie? She looked wrecked. Good. Arya's fingers traced my jawline, her emerald eyes flickering with mischief. "He's furious," she murmured. I smirked, my lips grazing the shell of her ear as I whispered back, "Then let's give him something to be furious about." And then I did it. I tilted her chin up, brushed my thumb over her bottom lip, and, without hesitation, I kissed her. It wasn't soft, it wasn't hesitant, it was slow, deep, and intoxicating. Arya responded instantly, her fingers sliding into my hair, pulling me closer, pressing her body flush against mine. I could taste the lingering hint of champagne on her lips, feel the delicious way she sighed into my mouth. The whole room froze, and Damien fucking lost it. I heard the crash of a glass hitting the floor, then the rapid, furious footsteps. The next thing I knew, a fist was flying straight toward my face. Crack! Pain exploded across my jaw as I staggered back, tasting blood on my tongue. But I was smiling, because Damien had just made the biggest mistake of his life. Gasps erupted across the party. A few guests stepped back, already murmuring. Natalie looked horrified. "Damien, stop it!" "Arya?" She was laughing, and that pissed him off even more. "You son of a bitch," Damien growled, shoving me hard. "You think you can take my wife? You think this makes us even?" I wiped my mouth, my smirk never fading. "No, Damien." I rolled my shoulders back, stepping closer. "I think it makes me the better man." He lunged again. I was ready. I ducked, dodging his sloppy attack, then drove my fist into his gut. He let out a sharp grunt, stumbling back, doubling over. The murmurs turned into full-on chaos. Security guards rushed in, guests whispering, phones recording. Natalie ran to Damien's side, pressing a hand against his chest. "Damien, stop. Please," she pleaded. "You're making it worse." Arya crossed her arms, looking down at him. "No, Natalie. He's finally just getting what he deserves." Damien lifted his head, humiliated. His entire empire had been built on control, power, respect, and tonight, I had taken all of that away from him. His eyes burned with hatred. "This isn't over," he spat. I chuckled, adjusting my suit. "No, buddy." I gave him a slow, taunting smirk. "It already is." A security guard grabbed his arm, pulling him back, leading him toward the exit. He struggled, but it was useless. He was finished. Natalie ran after him, but not before turning back, her eyes locking onto mine. "I hate you," she whispered. I winked. "You should have thought of that before you spread your legs for him." She gasped, flushed with shame, and then she was gone. The party was in chaos, people whispering, shocked, scandalized. But me? I turned to Arya, my pulse still thrumming with adrenaline. She smirked, tilting her head. "Well, that was fun." I chuckled, shaking my head. "Oh, sweetheart." I stepped closer, running my fingers along her jaw. It's only fun if it's not over yet. Her eyes gleamed with something dark, something dangerous. I was hoping you'd say that. And just like that, our revenge wasn't over yet. Because what happened next was going to be even hotter. The party was in chaos. Guests whispering, cameras flashing, security scrambling to handle the disaster Damien had just walked into. But me, I was completely calm. I straightened my suit, rolling my shoulders like I hadn't just thrown the most perfect punch of my life. The sting in my jaw from his hit barely registered because all I could focus on was the woman standing in front of me, Aria. She was grinning. Her emerald eyes burned with something dangerous, something intoxicating. She stepped closer, dragging her nails lightly down my arm, her touch sending a delicious thrill through me. I have to admit, she murmured, her voice like silk. Watching you put him in his place was unbelievably hot. I smirked, my fingers grazing her waist. I aimed to please. She tilted her head, eyes flickering to the stunned crowd still staring at us. Our victory was already sealed. But we weren't finished. Not yet. Because what's the point of revenge? If you don't finish it in the most brutal way possible? I leaned in, my lips brushing against the soft curve of her ear. Come with me. Aria's lips parted slightly, her breath hitching just enough to make me want to ruin her. Where are we going? She asked, but she already knew. I didn't answer. I just took her hand, interlocking our fingers, and led her out of the party. Let them talk. Let them whisper. Let them know. Because the final act of this game was about to be played in private. We ended up at my penthouse, top floor, floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the city lights, the skyline stretching far into the distance. The moment we stepped inside, the air between us crackled. Months of betrayal, months of planning, months of twisted, perfect, intoxicating revenge. And now, there was nothing left but us. I turned, pinning her with my gaze. We did it, I murmured, my voice lower now, rougher. Aria stepped closer, her fingers toying with the lapels of my jacket. Not yet, she whispered, her tone teasing, dangerous. I smirked. Oh? She leaned in, so close I could feel her lips hover over mine. We made them suffer, she murmured. We ruined them. Humiliated them. I let my hand slide down her sides, slow, teasing, claiming. And, she inhaled sharply, and now it's time to celebrate. I didn't hesitate. I crushed my lips against hers. The kiss was fire, raw and untamed. It wasn't gentle, it was possessive. A battle. A collision of two people who had just destroyed the ones who had betrayed them. Her hands tangled in my hair, pulling me deeper, closer, until there was nothing left between us. The world outside didn't exist. Only this moment. Only her. Only the fire we had started. And the flames we were about to burn in. The next morning, the city was still buzzing with the fallout of what had happened at the party. Photos had hit the press. Damien's downfall was everywhere. Natalie, she was completely destroyed. And Aria? She stood at my window, wearing nothing but my dress shirt, sipping coffee like she hadn't just walked away from her entire life and into something darker, something wilder. I smirked, stepping behind her, my hand sliding around her waist. Regrets, I murmured. She turned, her green eyes burning with something wicked. Not a single one. I grinned, because I didn't either, and that was the real victory.